Welcome back to the Balancing Act podcast. I'm Andy Temte. On the Balancing Act, we talk to business leaders and industry experts to explore the balancing acts we play in our professional lives and learn about the events that put rocket boosters behind their career success. Today, we have Chris Hallberg joining us. Chris is the founder of GoExpand, an agentic AI-powered business operating system platform, and has been an expert EOS implementer for over a decade. So we are going to talk entrepreneurship today and business development and management. So welcome to the show, Chris.
Andy, thanks for having me on. It's my pleasure.
Yeah. So, Chris, before we get started, please give our listeners the elevator pitch version of your story. And a warning for listeners, both Chris and I grew up in Wisconsin, so there might be a few cheese curds along the way.
Yes, we like our beer and cheese from Wisconsin for sure.
Yeah.
So as stated, I'm an entrepreneurial coach, primarily teaching the Entrepreneurial Operating System, or EOS, to leadership teams. I find working with leadership teams in full-day offsite sessions, let's call it 4 year per team, is the best way to kind of get the impact all the way down to the streets. So meeting with that leadership team, EOS is a train-the-trainer program. So as go you, so go they. So we teach the leaders teach the managers. We're available for large organizations to do the middle managers because it goes faster. We're obviously better at it because we do it for a living. But smaller organizations, we just teach the leadership team. They roll it out. Larger organizations, work on the middle. And as a former U.S. Army military police sergeant, business sergeant is my business branding because I think it's just really great that people know what they're getting when they hire me. They're not hiring someone to make light suggestions or tiptoe around their eggshells. They hire the business sergeant to just call out, we have a lot of fun, but we don't pull any punches. I like to be kind. I don't focus on being nice. I find that if we're too nice in business, we never really get on the real issues that transform us. If we're kind, we'll say, hey, fair enough, but would you like some feedback here? Because I have different data or I have a different opinion. So that's where I spend my time. But I also have an online course, the Business Sergeants Academy. So if people want to learn how to be a business sergeant, that comes from the book that I launched in 2017 called The Business Sergeant's Field Manual, subtitle, Military Grade Execution Without the Yelling and Push-Ups. So there's no cutting grass with scissors or waiting in lines for hours for no reason. All the stuff in the team building from the military, that's really great. Pulled that over. Totally applicable in the civilian business world. The stuff that belongs right over in the military and not over there, I left it right over there. So think about team building mindset, someone to become a manager or leader for the very first time. That course really kind of gives them a soup to nuts, high level leadership one-on-one. This is what I've seen work. This is what I've not seen work. A little bit of stories from my first 3 or 4 years of doing EOS and the amazing teams were able to do turnarounds and 10Xs and people exiting for $1 billion and really exciting stuff. And then after, coaching the system and having the mindset, there's different software tools in the marketplace for folks to run their EOS, and all those are perfectly adequate. It's just you want to do something yourself. And being a fly on the wall to the best leadership teams in America, they all use certain tools. So I found those tools and assembled them. That's the GoExpand. So we've got the mindset. We've got the operating system, which is EOS, the number one operating system in the world, and then the software to glue it all together. Because I find out, even if you have these great sessions and people kind of get it, they get back to their normal self on Monday. If there's a platform where all of the decisions have been made, the communication's there, the accountability, the visibility, right? Because A players don't want to let the team down. So I find just some healthy visibility creates that healthy peer pressure. And if everyone's going to see my failure, I'm just not going to want to fail. So I'm just going to be successful through that. And that's where the software comes in. So if you have the right mindset, you have an operating system, and you have a tool to keep everyone connected, that's what I'm finding. That's a lot, by the way, but that's the level of commitment a team needs to take if they really want to get on the escalator to greatness, because you can't be interested in it. You got to be fully committed. So that's what I've figured out over the last decade or so, and several decades of working with humans and building teams. And every team, Andy, has the same problem. They're not 100% there they don't know why they're there. So everyone's kind of there for a slightly different reason.
Yep.
And just getting everyone to opt all the way into the vision or opt all the way out of the vision is probably one of the most powerful things that a team can do, whether you're a business unit in a larger corporation, you're a standalone business. Just that if there's no commitment, the accountability is literally impossible if people aren't fully committed.
Yeah. So we'll talk a lot about alignment today. I'm hearing a lot about alignment. Before we get to what is EOS and what is GoExpand a little deeper, is there an accelerant in your career that just put rocket boosters behind you, a person or a process or your military experience? If you had a key accelerant in your career, what would it be?
I would say a peer group would be my answer to that, like emphatically. The Entrepreneurs Organization, or EO, it's known. Once you get a business doing $1 million, they also have an accelerator. It's called EO Accelerator. And so, wow, you nailed that. The branding's good on that, Andy.
Yeah.
I believe it's 250 or 300,000 up to 999. So you can grow there. And then once you hit $1 million, you join the full chapter. And there's some other peer groups that I work with too, Vistage and Accelerant and Young Presidents Association and Acumen. So I just think having a peer group, if you're a head of a business unit or the CEO, like no one understands your issues other than other people in a similar situation. It's really not a good idea for you to grab your team and just dump all the reasons why you can't sleep. You might freak them out. You might have a turnover problem for your leaders, right? So like you want to be open and honest, but let's be clear. There are certain things to share and there are other things to hold and have a board or, a senior leader or a mentor. I just think a peer group. If you have a peer group, and many times that comes with a coach or accountability from other members, you have an operating system. So a coach, an operating system, and a peer group are kind of every entrepreneur, senior leader need to have those three relationships. That's in my experience, those that the most successful people have those three and maybe some other things. But the folks that are making it happen are focused, they're clear, they understand what's going on, and they're really scaling a system. If you don't have a system, you're just making it up. And last time I checked, that's really hard to scale.
Yeah. I much earlier in my career, I shied away from the peer group idea. Peer groups were just kind of getting off the ground. And my mindset at the time was that I was going to be giving up some trade secrets to these other participants in the group. So I don't want to go into a peer group because I might be giving up some type of competitive advantage. And now that I know more about where peer groups, what their purpose is, I absolutely am with you and would recommend that exact same thing. Get involved with a peer group that can really, really be an accelerant.
Yeah, you're so right, and it's not advice. It's an experience share. Yeah. And there's a big difference between, man, if I'm faced with that situation, here's a couple of ideas. Well, that's somewhat helpful to get me into maybe noodling in a place I wasn't before. But like, the exact same thing happened to me last year and it was brutal. Do you want to know the thing that finally got it to go away? Yeah. Can we skip the year of pain and suffering and just get right to that? And thank you for that. Yeah. Like, now I'm going to have to help you at some point. So there's some reciprocity there. And I think that is a great place to be. So it doesn't really matter where you sit in the organization. Find your people, your tribe, people that do what you do, care about what you do. And that's the best way is to walk into a room where you're not the smartest person. That's how you become the smartest person in the room, is by filling yourself, filling rooms with smart people and then getting some of that. And then after years of picking up that knowledge, you'll have some gray hairs and you'll have some wisdom to give back to the people coming up. So that's kind of the circle of life. The cycle of life for excellence is being vulnerable, not having all the answers. And the peer group really does that. It does all those things, right?
You really start to challenge each other. I've spoken to a couple of peer groups, and it's almost every one of them I've talked to has been a really interesting dynamic, very, very, very team oriented. And so if you're listening to this and you're curious about peer groups, just ChatGPT or Claude or whatever you use, type in, find a peer group near me in human resources, because they are there are some national groups, of course, but local is, in my experience, better here. So.
Yep. You get more of the in-person events, speakers like myself roll through. I love peer groups. To your point, Andy, like when you show up to a peer group, everyone is just like hanging on your every word. You go to just a general business thing, half the crowd is doing Candy Crush on their phone. They just don't even understand the value of what you're giving them. And these people like fully appreciate, especially if you've got like a bunch of horror stories, case studies, and insights. And, just because, myself as an EOS guy, right? We're not industry specific. In fact, you should almost never not even look. Do you have experience in my space? Like, you're not hiring me to consult you to be good at your industry. You're hiring me to help you build a world-class team that wins Best Places to Work awards. Like every year, be one of those top 1% companies with 95, 96% employee engagement, waiting list to work there, twice the profit, low drama. My founders can come and go as they please. That's kind of the after picture of a couple of years of working with me and my team of experts that I drag along on assignments that are able to actually provide what we need versus, like, let me use just digital marketing, for instance. Like there's a lot of lawyer jokes, but now we're doing digital marketer jokes, right? Like it's moved on because most people I talk to spend 4 or 5 months with a new company, no results. And it's just, oh my goodness. Like if you can find a digital marketer who does a good job and provides a good ROAS, return on ad spend, like love them, right. Send them flowers, tell them you appreciate them. I don't think you understand like how many relationships one needs to go through until they find a good one. The benefit of me doing what I've done is sometimes I find experts from my clients. Oh yeah, we tried 40 people. This is the best. Hey, can I use them too? So eventually you end up getting a Rolodex of people can show up and deliver. So right. Like going back to the peer group and the network, a lot of the peer groups will have sponsor networks. They'll have, hey, who have you used? Oh, I use so-and-so. They work awesome. Or, ooh, I actually hired so-and-so. I wouldn't recommend it. That's another reason. It's because an entrepreneur or a senior business leader, you can't do this on your own. You need a team, almost an army of attachments that you can plug in and plug out to survive in today's modern climate. You really do.
So let's talk about that army, which is the EOS environment that you get when you hire somebody like you, an implementer. For our listeners who haven't heard of EOS, can you just give us a 1-minute primer on what EOS is and what it means to be you?
Yeah, so EOS is the Entrepreneurial Operating System. It's a simple set of holistic tools to align and synchronize all the moving parts of one's business. There are 6 key components in EOS. I like to joke EOS is like CrossFit for business. If you do these 6 things, these exercises, you'll look like an action figure. They're the big ones. So the first one's the vision component, getting the leadership team, the management team, and the team 100% exactly on the same page where they're going and how they're going to get there. Everyone opts in fully to that, or they go elsewhere for their vision. We don't treat the company like an Uber. We treat it like a bus. Get on the bus and go to the destination. Second key component is the people component. Right people, share your core values, right seats, a lot of acronyms in EOS. That's why military people love it. GWC, get it, want it, has the capacity. Got to have right people, right seat. A lot of times we'll have right people, wrong seat, or wrong person, right seat. Or the wrong people in the wrong seat are pretty easy to spot. But sometimes we hang on to them. Third key component, the data component, getting past the egos, the personalities, subjectivities in business and getting down to a number, a measurable. Hit this and we're good. Don't hit this, we need to talk. So just making agreements, not just blind expectations, but expectations with a return agreement holds people accountable right there. Strong in vision, strong in people, strong in data. Fourth key component, issues component. It's just a business issue. Issues aren't always problems. They can be opportunities, just things we need to discuss and figure out how we're going to tackle that. So we have long-term issues, more than 90 days, and then we have short-term issues inside of the current quarter. Fifth key component, Andy, which is the process component, the 20% that gives you the 80%. Checklist outlines, go fast things, like try to book a ticket to come fly and see me in Denver, and not be willing to share your date of birth. Sorry, that's step 4. You cannot get to step 5, which is seat selection, right? Till you satisfy that. So rules-based workflows, that kind of stuff.
Right.
Stuff that clients like us to do. It's scalable. It's clear. It's fun. Last, sixth and final key component, other side of vision is traction. Vision without traction is hallucination. So this is the important part where we have a 90-day world because humans get frustrated after about 90 days. We got to pick them up, dust them off, pat them on the back, kick them in the butt, whatever they got coming. And then we set them straight for another 90 days. And every 90 days, we ask them what's working, what's not working. But we also create rocks, and rocks from the late Dr. Stephen Covey talks about those big priorities, those big initiatives, usually strategic things, changing the wheels on the moving bus, a new process, opening a new location. We have a business to run, but if we just run the business we have and our competitors are building theirs and we're just maintaining ours, eventually we'll be a fly on their windshield. So this is how we create. So we create this planning, 10 years, 3-year, 1 year. Every year we recast the 3-year picture and the 1-year plan. That's a very EOS thing. And that one is on the vision side. It creates a plan, a context, like what the vision. And then the 1-year plan is like a real, we are going to do this. And then the rocks are 4 quarters, 4 kicks at the can. So everything is military backwards planning. And I'm sure you've heard our U.S. military is kind of a big deal. And, we show up on time, on target, and win because we use backwards planning. So this is why veterans love EOS, people that crave structure. It's very simple. It's almost deceptively simple, but the simplicity of the methodology is why it works so effectively. Yeah,
so let's move to GoExpand then, the software tool, the AI-based software tool that you've created. What is it, and does everybody that goes through an EOS implementation, or should they be adopting that tool?
Yeah, I mean, there are other tools available. So Ford or Chevy, everyone, there's choices to be made. But I'd like to say mine's a Lamborghini, or I'd like to pick a fancy, not a general population car because it has a lot of features. It's not for everyone, but it really simplifies. And the one thing I'd say about a business operating system, regardless of what flavor, is the subjectivity that's inherent with humans. And we want to make it very objective. So if I can give tools to give you pre-work, so you're using GoExpand and all the tools and features there, just to give you confidence, because EOS is going to say, hey, is that the right person? Yes or no? Well, yeah. Are they in the right seat? I guess. If I look at it this way, yes. If I look at it this way, no. So that's a no, versus here's exactly how this person performs on a scatter plot compared to their peer group. So if we think Jimmy's great, and Jenny's way above that, how could she be the wrong person in the wrong seat? She's above Jimmy. So I think just giving people the context to get rid of the subjectivity of the human relationships, favors, that you laugh at my bad dad jokes, you compliment this horrible haircut. Of course I love you, right? And if we're going to have to do a riff, you're not in that riff because I need those for my fragile ego, versus the person we're letting go is actually 3 times more productive. So when I see Amy is 146% of goal and a 4.8 out of 5 in alignment and in performance. So performance is the x-axis. Inside of that would be like the scorecard, getting your rocks done, getting your to-dos done, and having the skills necessary. That's performance, x-axis. Y-axis is alignment. Is are you living your core values? Are you a good teammate? Are you aligned? Are you following processes? Is the customer happy? Just 1 to 5 on each one of those bullet points on your accountability chart sheet, which is not like an org chart. It's like an org chart on steroids. And then what we end up doing is give people an alignment score, a performance score, and then that gives them the scatter plot. And then the application has 10 levels of difficulty. So if you're getting bored with this, hey, we've mastered this, well, let's go to the next level and continue to go towards world class. And then we also have the engagement score, and that's a score that's generated by the user, by the employee. Like, Andy, if you're my boss, you can't say, Chris, you love it here, I'm going to give you a 5 in these 5 questions for engagement for a perfect 25 out of 25. The user can change their engagement score anytime they want to. So if we have a bad boss, I see a bunch of unicorns all disengaged, I can run reports. It's an early warning system for humans, because once somebody kind of makes up their mind, I'm not sure if I want to be here, you've got like a month or 2 to repair that, or you've kind of lost them mentally, and eventually someone's going to pluck them out of your company. So like, this is a tool for people that are not clairvoyant, that want to know what's happening. And when you look at the data, all my scorecards are visualized. I have trend lines. The entire thing talks to each other. Every conversation you ever recorded is instantly searchable. And every process you decide to put in there is instantly searchable, well within 10 or 15 seconds, which is almost instant. And then when you update a process or a policy, you just pull it out and replace it with a new one. 10 seconds later, someone asks the question, they're going to get the new answer. The old answer isn't even commercially available. So now I have this mindset, I have this operating system, and now I have a tool where we can reward and recognize each other. We can hold each other accountable. I can see where my performance is in relation to where it's supposed to be. I can communicate. I can go to meetings. I can tell GoExpand to give me a task. GoExpand listens. If we're in a conversation and you make a commitment to me, Andy, we don't have to stop the meeting while we tap out the to-do. GoExpand will just have that to-do waiting for you after the meeting, and then you can polish up the details on it. So it's just a smart, connected, easy to use tip of the spear. So everything else you're using software-wise, we'll just put an API, we'll port that data in so you don't have to do the manual data entry. But if we're going to spend time in an application, what I found was my teams were using 20 or 30% of 4 or 5 different people tools. They were using one of the great business operating system apps, and they either did or did not use an LLM like OpenAI for their knowledge base. So basically, my very best clients were only using parts. So I just took a melon baller and took those parts from those disparate apps, put it into one login. And it's not just about the cost, which saves a ton of money because it's 5 or 6 apps in one login. It's about mind share. It's about space. What I want one tool my people are 80% engaged in, or do I want 5 tools where they're 15, 20, 30% engaged in, right? So like, it's just mind share. And what the feedback we're getting, because we only launched a couple months ago, is that, wow, this is like we know exactly what's going on. We're creating the matrix. We're understanding how this flows, and the visualizations. We can spot patterns and trends from across the road. Like, somebody made a comment the other day, getting some feedback, like, wow, we have to go out of our way to be bad. Like, this is like, what needs to happen is so right in front of it. And we all see the same thing. So it's no longer like, what do you think? What do you think? What do you think? Which is a huge part of business, meeting after meeting, just to get buy-in or consensus. EOS is more like, hey, whose call is this? Who owns this decision? Make a call. Ask for input. And if you don't want input, just make the call. If you're the right person in the right seat, everyone else hush. So a lot of businesses move slowly because we have committees and consensus. We really need to stop doing that. We really just need to hire the right people in the right seats. We need to get them out of their way. The operating system allows that, and the software, keeps the visibility so it's done at a healthy amount.
Yeah, huge empowerment component to the tool, it sounds like. Chris, we're going to take a really short break, and we'll be right back. Want to understand money, markets, and the economy to make better financial decisions? I'm Andy Temte. Join me every Saturday morning for Money Lessons with Andrew Temte on YouTube or your favorite podcast streaming service. And we're back with Chris Hallberg talking entrepreneurship and EOS. So, Chris, you mentioned it before the break. On your personal website, you are self-described as the business sergeant. So, in a nutshell, what is your leadership philosophy? And if you had one leadership lesson to impart to listeners today, what would it be?
A company is a curation of human beings. Ergo, it's a team. Yep. The team is always more important than any one member of the team. And sometimes in corporate America, right? Small business where we have the king complex, that kind of stuff. I think that's important to understand. I forget the original quote of this. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go as a team. So I'm just going to rip that one off and say that's what it's about. It's about the power of the wolf pack. I mean, you see a wolf in the wild, like you should be concerned. That's a big dog with a paw, the size of a man's hand. You see 3 or 4 wolves looking at you, you're already done because they hunt as a group. You know what I mean? You need to get up a tree really quick and send smoke signals. You're in trouble. Once you see that second or third wolf, then, they're already underway. So I think a wolf pack is something to be feared. A couple of big dogs in the woods, a little less scary.
Yeah. So the business sergeant, talk to us about your role as business sergeant. How does that translate into a leadership philosophy?
Yeah, so I think the book, The Business Sergeant's Field Manual, and the course, The Business Sergeant's Academy, is a very high level, just this is what I feel business is. This was my experience in the military, in the paramilitary, civilian business, as a salesperson, a sales manager, a sales executive, then a business owner, and then coaching other business owners. I spotted a lot of things that are common, and great leaders in the military solve so many problems. Bad leaders in the military create a lot of problems.
Create them.
The difference is here, Andy, the aha here is in the military, they assign you soldiers. And sometimes they're not a 10 out of 10. In fact, mostly that's not the case. Your job is to take them and make them as good as they can be, as good as you can be, right? Be all you can be. Right. They're also... they come in different levels, but they're all really committed. Like they signed a document saying you can send the MPs to come grab me if I don't come into work for one day. Right. Civilians can take a mental health week if they need to, right, without a whole lot of backlash. In the civilian business world, we have 7 billion people to choose from. And even if you have a couple hundred or 1,000, I like your odds. However, they can just come in tomorrow and say, hey, I'm not feeling this anymore. I got an offer for another 10 grand. I'm going to bounce. Yeah. So like what I learned now is that I had some leaders in the military I would follow anywhere. Right. And I had some other military people, I might not put them out if they're on fire. Like they were cancerous, toxic. Obviously that's an example, but it's your duty.
I'd never heard that one before.
It's your duty to put another soldier out that's on fire. So like I'm just being facetious here, but anyhow, I learned from many more bad leaders than I did good leaders. And I would say it's probably 3 to 1. And that same thing is true in the civilian world. But the difference is what's really great about the military is like, the sergeant doesn't show up and tell the general, I'm not really feeling that, sir. The generals meet with the colonels and the majors and they come up with the plan and then they give it to everyone. And then the sergeants ask questions and say, well, you didn't think about this, or what are we supposed to do about that? And then that last little bit with the managers is what makes the mission actually functional. It's a good idea, but the ones the brass put out and the ones that get executed, usually there's a little change there. And that's a good thing because the sergeants know what we can do with the troops and not what you want to do, what I can actually promise you and what I can promise you with some certainty over here. But the point is we have a mission. This is plan A. If this happens, this is plan B. If plan B is not feasible, we're going to go to plan Charlie or Delta or however far down it goes. So in the civilian business world, we're not as committed, we're not as focused, and we don't demand allegiance, accountability from the team. So I just find that like only 7% of the U.S. population has worn the uniform in some form or function in their lifetime, right? 93% didn't. a big percentage of that 93, oh, I wish I did it. So just bringing kind of this ethos, this team building mindset, like even if you're not in like aviation or healthcare, which are both life and death industries, right? Like a bad day at work is where loss of human life and bad things all the way around. But even if your business is like somebody could get a paper cut, like I get it. No one's going to die today. But if being in a great unit in the military, and I'm talking about Delta Force, Special Forces, like the elite stuff. Those guys are incredible. One in like 10,000 people. I'm just talking about being in the big army and this unit, where you're going for your orders. I'm going there. Oh, sorry. That's where they send people that they don't like. That you're going to hate it there. Or you're going to this unit. Wow, that's an amazing unit. Great command team, wonderful sergeants. Like you got great officers and great sergeants. Like you don't want to leave after 2 years. More likely you're going to get okay officers, okay sergeants. And that's why there's TV shows about the Army. But you can have okay officers and great sergeants and have a decent experience if you're lower enlisted. You can't have world-class officers and horrible sergeants and have any sort of semblance of being in a good unit, right? The sergeants spend way more time with the troops. So landing the circle here, the plane on the runway, the business sergeant mentality is I teach the officers, but I want access to your sergeants because they're the ones who are actually going to do it. When I meet the officers and said, have you told your sergeants how they got it? And then I meet the sergeants every time. They're like, huh? So it's just like the disconnect between, oh, I told them 3 times, Chris. Like, you're gonna have to tell them like 60 times to get this done. Like, I don't think you understand the space humans have to learn new things. And it continues to get smaller as our hard drives continue to be filled up with these things, right? So think about this. It's not life and death, but we're going to curate a team that I could take into business battle and defeat anybody else's team because everyone wants to be here. We're all volunteer. We know it's special. We pay people more. We expect more. No drama. Just getting it done with like-minded people. So that's why people hire the business sergeant, because they want to create an elite team where the owners and the leaders can come and go, and the sergeants are actually running the day-to-day of the business because you've given them a clear picture of success. We have all the measurements. We're all looking at the same dashboards. They are moving towards the green, or they're staying in the same place, or they're moving away. This one needs to move green in the next month or 2, or we're going to call it. So just removing the wrong people 3 to 6 months, 10 months, a year early, being able to identify the wrong people, get rid of them, liberate them to the marketplace so they can find something else. When we do that, we make space for a total winner who's probably losing at an inferior brand. So when we hang on to the wrong people, we don't leave space for the right people to come here and make us great. So usually there's a bunch of new people that follow me wherever I go. That's why I have recruiting friends and assessment friends, because hiring is half art, half science. I'll bring you the art, I'll bring you the science, all the tools you need, and then we have a system, meaning we're not even going to meet the person that doesn't have the right wiring for the position, because I've already tested my existing staff. And my top third, I'll share this 1 or 2 personality archetype. Therefore, I'm only going to interview people off the street that have that, because we fall in love with the wrong people usually in the first 5 minutes. And then it takes 3 months early, year, 5 years, and a paper trail to get rid of them. So I'm a fail fast guy. Let's create the system. Let's, even in the ads, even in the funnel. So we're going to interview probably half the people, but we're going to hire twice as many because we're doing our curating in the system. Therefore, 2 out of 3 hires are going to stick for a couple of years and be good hires, versus 1 out of 3 hires are going to stick in a couple of years. That little move right there at scale will give you all the money you need for all your ideas, because people are like, oh, coaching's expensive. EOS is expensive. GoExpand, these courses, like this stuff costs money. I'm like, hey, you're paying for it in poor execution. Like you might as well just invest that, right? And then stop leaking money and accountability and turnover and all the hidden killers of business. So like, I just think it's a matter of like creating the matrix and saying, who wants to play the game with me? Just like this. You'll find out if you do a good job creating that vision and you got a great company and you love what you do, there are people out there still that want to be on a world-class team. Are you going to create a world-class team for those people to find? That's the question.
Yeah. No, I love the philosophy because you're talking to leadership, but you got this focus on the middle and where the execution happens, which is at the sergeant level, the corollary from the private sector to the military. So that's really cool. Chris, we're almost at time here. We're going to do a really quick mentorship moment. You've got a career changer or a budding entrepreneur sitting right in front of you right now. They want to strike out on their own. They don't know where to start. In a couple of sentences, what's your advice to help this individual achieve liftoff?
Yeah. Don't pick a business that you think you'll make money at, or like, let me rephrase that. You need to be in a model that makes sense, right? Reoccurring revenue. So like, don't, I'm going to open a restaurant. Okay, great. Small margin, huge people issues. People are fickle. You could do everything right for years and somebody else opens a new concept and you're toast. So what I'm saying is like, you got to be smart. So the first thing is make sure you're in the right structure and you're in an emergent industry, not one on the way out being destroyed by AI. So first off, let's be strategic. Secondly, number one and number two need to link up. I have to love this thing. If you don't love it, if you're not crazy about making it better, you're weird. People say, "Man, you really talk about this a lot." Like I'm a nerd with what I do. This doesn't even work for me. I generally love like this conversation. Like this is awesome. I love to help people. I love to understand things. So if you, number one, make sure you're strategically in a good space that's going to be relevant, that there's a growth trajectory. So don't put your boat on the wrong lake and wonder why you're not catching fish. Number two, right. You better love fishing or you should pick up golf.
Yeah, excellent.
So it's two parts, but like get the first one, make sure the second one's true. Then obviously everything else we talked about is relevant in this interview. But I like to solve all my issues as far upstream as I can at the root. So I just find, you asked me, there it is. So get in a space that makes sense and love it is the one thing I would do if I was given somebody. And then you can figure all this other stuff, because even with the best tools, the best coach, good margins, if you don't really enjoy it, it's just work, it's going to feel like that. And everyone's going to recognize that. So imagine pinching yourself saying, I can't believe they pay me to do this. Like if that describes your 8 to 10 hours during the day, you're going to live a long, healthy life, and you'll probably be quite successful, because the money comes to people that add value, that solve problems. And and that's really what it's all about.
Yep. All right, Chris, a couple of lightning round questions real quick. Number one, you've just won $100 million lotto jackpot. There's a stipulation that half of your net winnings go to one philanthropic organization or cause. Who do you pick?
Yeah, I'd probably say like Operation Homefront, something with the military. Sure. 22 suicides a day is way too many. Yeah. So I'd really like to give that money to help prevent veteran suicide. That's the thing, the charitable thing that I'm most interested in.
Awesome. Second, you have access to a really small time machine. You can send a very short message to an earlier version of yourself. What's the message and what version of yourself do you send it to?
Powerball numbers are 6, 5, 9, and the red one is 14. Nice. And I would send it, just do it. Right. But if I was looking for like the sage advice from 52-year-old Chris to like 32-year-old Chris, it's don't take everything personally. No one really cares at the end of the day. All of this angst, all of this anxiety, it's self-generated. The self-talk in our heads, it's like 80% negative. So just catching the negative thoughts and karate chopping them, give them a good knife hand and saying, F that, whatever that is for you. And then verbalizing the positive thought, you train your brain. Your brain is like a computer. And if you have negative thoughts and you let those live, that's how you will perceive the world. So it's like, I feel like Neo from the Matrix right now. We're almost to that point, but it's not what you think it is when you're young, right? And I totally understand that the world probably rewards the worst version of yourself. When I worked 150 hours a week and building companies and doing things, right? I really wish I spent more time with my children when they were younger. You know, I wish I didn't have status on 3 airlines, but I did, right? You know what I mean? Like, it's not about that. So old Chris would tell young Chris, listen, relax. Like, what you're stressing about, you can't even change that. I need you to see that that's not a changeable thing. And I need you to understand how you can add value to the problem, or how you can make it as good as you can make it. And just understand that you're not Superman. You don't need a cape. Just do what you can do and stay focused. That's what I would tell my younger self.
Awesome. We're all works in progress. What are you focused on right now in your personal journey of growth?
I think not responding to everything instantly. Like this counting to 5 thing, they're supposed to count to 10, but that ain't going to work for me. So I just cut the advice down to 5. And that's slowing me down just enough to keep me out of trouble. It's that knee-jerk response. Usually, sometimes it's just coming from not a healthy place, or some old trauma wounds or whatever. So I just think really letting things kind of land. Like, someone sends me an email and I'm like, oh, first response. Like, I'm going to send that email tomorrow.
Sure.
Even if I write it, I'll schedule it for tomorrow, knowing I can go back in there and change it. But there's just something about not responding so quickly. At the same time, you shouldn't take 3 days to get back to people for things that are, a couple to 3 hours. But just slow down, I think, is the message. Be more intentional. That message sent tomorrow, it's going to be it's going to be a great message when you've had a chance to noodle on it, sleep on it, wake up, and then edit that thing. You're going to feel like $1 million versus, oh gosh, let me send another email apologizing for my first email. And who knows if they even took it that way. So you might even be like mentioning things that they weren't even thinking. So like, it's just a lot of stress to go fast, go slow.
Yep. Where can folks get a hold of you, Chris?
Love connecting on LinkedIn. So if your listeners want to connect with me on LinkedIn, I'd be happy to do that. I'll be sharing this interview and some other ones there. Chris@GoExpand.com. It's probably the easiest email to grab me at if you want to talk about leadership team coaching, courses for your mid-managers, or ultimately the GoExpand app. And again, it works on other operating systems, not just EOS. Or if you don't follow an operating system, you can change all the terms and kind of customize your own business. Like, a lot of times I feel, oh, we call it this or we call it that. Like, that's fine. Open naming conventions in the non-EOS version. So lots of different options to fit your team.
Awesome. Well, Chris, thank you so much for being here and talking all things entrepreneurship.
Thanks, Andy. Really appreciate you having me on.
Awesome. Well, my name is Andy Temte. This is the Balancing Act podcast. You can find us on all the major streaming services as well as out on YouTube. Please like, subscribe, rate, and most importantly, share this episode with your friends and colleagues. The show was produced by Nick Temte, and we'll see you next time on the Balancing Act.